And now, from approximately coast to coast, it's the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show. Well, you know, it's about time for one of the fun weeks to take place. Now,
which one is this?
Well, we'll be observing National Peanut Week. And in connection with that event, reporter Wally Ballou is standing by near Jacksonville, Florida, to bring us a special report. So come in, please, Wally Ballou.
This is the golden voice of Wally Ballou speaking from just south of Jacksonville, Florida. Beside me, pushing a peanut along the highway with his nose, is Mr. Pontius Whittier of the National Association of Peanut Roasters. Mr. Whittier, I assume this stunt you're engaged in is designed to get publicity for National Peanut Week?
Well, that's right. Almost every town I push the peanut through puts my picture in the paper, and I think it's a fine way.
Hold it, Mr. Whittier. The engineer just signaled me that we're not picking up your voice very well. With your nose down there on the highway, I can't get the microphone close enough. I wonder if you'd mind standing for the interview.
Well,
Stand up, Mr. Whittier.
It's a little early for my hourly rest period, but I guess I could take it now. It's almost time for me to be changing noses anyway.
Well, of course, that brings up the interesting fact that you're not actually pushing the peanut with your own nose.
Well, that's quite correct. I wear a plastic nose over my own nose.
Well, I see that it ties on there with a string that goes around the back of the head.
Yeah, and it ties, see, with a bow here in the back. See, the plastic nose has really been a wonderful development for long-distance peanut pushers such as myself. Now, it used to be that your nose would be all bruised and scratched up after 10 or 15 miles, but now with this plastic device, I can push 10 to 12 hours a day and still keep my real nose sound as a dollar.
Well, you mentioned something about changing noses. Do you have to do that at regular intervals?
Well, yes. You see, the friction of the plastic rubbing against the concrete generates quite a bit of heat. And, well, that causes the tip of the nose to wear thin. Now, a plastic nose has to be recapped or discarded after about 50 miles.
So I assume from that knapsack full of noses there that you just throw the old ones away when they wear thin, huh?
Yes, you see, the Peanut Roasters Association is sparing no expense on this project. Now, I started out from New York with a supply of about 100 noses, and I still have 65 or 70 of them left here.
You mean you've pushed this peanut with your nose all the way from New York?
Yeah, that's right. I left Times Square at noon, June 15th, and if I hold a schedule, I'll pull up in front of the Los Angeles City Hall next Saturday to climax National Peanut Week. It'll be the first coast-to-coast peanut push in history.
Just one thing, Mr. Whittier. If your route is from New York to Los Angeles, what are you doing down here in Florida?
Well, I'm just following route number 1 right here into L.A.
Well, this highway doesn't go to Los Angeles. It just runs down the Florida coast and stops at Key West.
Oh, I'm afraid you're mistaken. Here, I'll show you on the map. You see, Route 1 goes right across here, and, oh, gee. That's 66 that goes to Los Angeles, isn't it?
Yeah, seems to be, yes.
Well, this is terrible. The mayor of L.A. was going to present me with the key to the city and everything.
Well, thanks for talking with me anyway.
You know, I had a hunch I should have turned right when I hit that last interchange on the New Jersey Turnpike. Well, peanut roasters are going to be pretty mad about this.
Well, we hope you have a nice trip wherever you're going. And now this is Wally Ballou near Jacksonville, Florida, sending it back to Bob and Ray in New York. Well, This is fun for us. It's the time we open up our telephones again and present a feature called State Your Case, portion where the listening public can phone in and give an opinion on some controversial issue of the day.
Now, it's your big chance to speak out to the world on public affairs. So call in now. In New York, our number is Quincy 31277. And in today's Honor City, Washington, D.C., it's Bureaucrat 9 1184. Of course, if you're planning to place a call in Washington, you should be aware that it's probably being recorded as evidence against you by the CIA, the FBI, the IRS.
Well, excuse me, Ray. I think you're starting to speak out on a controversial issue yourself there, and only our listeners are supposed to do that. So maybe we might as well chat with the first one who's on the line. State your case. Would you begin by giving us your name, please?
Yes, my name is Ethel Merman Strunk.
Well, if you folks wanted to name you after a famous person, wouldn't it have been more appropriate to pick a man?
Well, when I was born, Mom and Dad only heard Ethel Merman sing on the radio, and they thought she was a man.
I guess it's possible, especially if nobody rushed over to turn the volume down at times. What's on your mind otherwise?
Well, otherwise, it's my opinion that we ought to make my wedding anniversary a national holiday instead of the 4th of July.
It's interesting. Why?
Well, I figure that if public buildings were all closed and flags were out and people were shooting off skyrockets, it might remind me to buy my wife a present. Then she wouldn't get mad at me every year.
Do you have any idea when your anniversary really is?
Yes, it's December 25th. But when that time comes, nothing ever reminds me to buy my wife a present.
You know, I'd suggest you watch the newspapers for the first announcement of the January white sales. Think about it, and we'll take a call on the other phone. Could I have your name, please?
I'm Moxie Livernoy, and I'm calling from a phone booth at Epcot Center because I thought I was standing in line for something else.
Financially, you're better off this way. But what's your opinion?
I think being a high school dropout is a great advantage to a person in later life.
Why is that?
I don't know. See, I'm too uneducated to figure out the reason.
Well, I think you've just presented a convincing argument against yourself without realizing it, and I hope our other listeners will feel free to do the same next time when you'll all have another chance to speak out on State Your Case. And now we return again to Garish Summit and its endless story of intrigue among the socially prominent. There in stately splendor, far removed from the squalid village below, they fight their petty battles over power and money. As action begins, Rodney Murchfield is back in his office after trying without success to collect ransom by faking his own kidnapping. Suddenly, the door opens. Rodney's somewhat younger brother Caldwell enters. Caldwell speaks.
I just want to get my personal items out of the drawer of your presidential desk, Rodney. I kind of moved in while you were kidnapped, figuring the crooks would never send you back alive.
That type of cold conniving is so like you, Caldwell.
Thank you. I consider myself a keen student of human nature. And knowing how I'd strangle you if I ever got my hands around your slimy throat, I assumed the kidnappers would do the same. Is this my toothbrush behind the paper clips or yours?
No, probably mine. My overbite makes the bristles get fuzzy that way.
Okay, you know, I still can't understand why the crooks didn't rub you out. In fact, you don't even look like a guy who's been kidnapped. Your hair's neatly trimmed, you've got a new manicure.
Well, I can't discuss it except to say that the kidnapper is a student at a beautician school who chose to do his homework on me.
That sounds pretty fishy to me. I wonder what the cops will think when they start checking out this loony story of yours.
I just have some routine questions, Miss Agatha. Some of Rodney's account of the kidnapping strikes us as a bit unusual.
Frankly, Sergeant, his story strikes me as downright loony.
Well, we use the term unusual in the same general sense.
Well, I should think so. My word, Who ever heard of a kidnap victim gaining 10 pounds while he was away? Rodney claimed they tortured him by making him eat chocolate eclairs.
Yes, that was a questionable point. And then, too, he wasn't just dumped out on a roadside. He said the crooks gave him $50 to rent a car and drive home.
One with air conditioning and cruise control, I believe. Rodney said he demanded air conditioning and cruise control.
Well, criminals don't usually pay much attention to demands like that from their victims.
Well, I imagine that would be especially true in Rodney's case. He's so spineless when it comes to standing his ground against blue-collar types.
Well, I hate to say it, Miss Agatha, but this whole kidnapping sounds like a fraud to me. And if anybody else was in on the conspiracy, that person may be trying to get out of town right now.
Give me a one-way ticket to, what does that say up there for the next bus? Detroit?
No, that's Duluth. The next Detroit bus isn't until 9:15.
All right, I'll go to Duluth. That's better than going at 9:15.
You sure seem to be in a hurry to get out of town, mister.
Yeah, what's it to you, kid?
Well, as chance would have it, I'm no ordinary 12-year-old. I'm Spanky Murchfield, the son of Caldwell Murchfield that he never knew he had, and who was abandoned in infancy by a previous marriage.
Oh, yeah? By whose previous marriage?
My mom and dad's, which brings me to the reason for striking up this conversation. You see, if anything happened to both Rodney and Caldwell, I'd be the legal heir to the Murchfield billions.
Good for you. Now move aside. I got to catch a bus to Detroit.
Duluth, the Detroit bus is not until 9:15.
Well, I don't care. I just want to leave town.
I assumed that from the beginning. I may be small and homely, but everybody knows I'm a good judge of character. That's why I've decided to hire you to kidnap both Rodney and Caldwell Murchfield, only this time, do it right.
Will Rodney's kidnapper agree to kidnap him for a second time in the mistaken belief that he can't be tried twice for the same crime? Will Spanky be turned over to juvenile authorities because he hasn't been tried for the crime even once? And what about the lengthy treatment required to cure Rodney's overbite? Perhaps we'll learn more next time when we hear the bus driver say,
"Sorry, pal, this ticket's for Duluth. I'm going to Dayton."
That's next week when we resume our endless story of intrigue on Gary Summit. Oh, say, now we've come to music time here on the Old Bob and Ray Show. And for your afternoon listening pleasure, we swing out to the Skyline Room of the Frimler Hotel in Evansville, Indiana, for the haunting melodies of Lloyd Fletch and his all-male orchestra.
Yes, indeed. This is Buddy Blodgett, speaking to you directly from the picturesque Skyline Room of the historic old Frimler Hotel, high atop downtown Evansville, where the elite meet to rhapsodize with Lloyd Fletch and his all-male orchestra. Right now, I'm moving toward the bandstand with our Bob and Ray microphone to have a few words with the maestro himself. Lloyd, welcome to Big Time Radio.
Well, thanks very much, buddy. And on behalf of all the men in my all-male orchestra, let me issue a hearty welcome to the picturesque Skyline Room of the historic old Frimler Hotel, overlooking all of Evansville.
And even some of the farmlands beyond, right, Lloyd?
That's right, buddy. We're up on the 12th floor here.
Yep.
So, of course, that gives the patrons of the picturesque Skyline Room a panoramic view of all of Evansville, and even of some of the farmlands beyond.
Right.
We certainly invite your listeners from throughout the area to join us here for late afternoon dancing every weekday, but not Saturday or Sunday, because those aren't weekdays.
Oh, very true. That's very true, Lloyd. Incidentally, as you were issuing that invitation to music lovers throughout Greater Evansville, I was noticing that you don't have much of a crowd here today in the picturesque sky room of the historic old Frimler Hotel. I only count 5 people out there at the tables around the dance floor. You think that's because this is a weekday when most people are working, or what?
No, I think it's mostly because the historic old Frumler Hotel has been condemned and boarded up, buddy. The Skyline Room up here on the 12th floor is the only section that's still occupied. And to get here, music lovers have to climb over those fire department barricades down there in the lobby, and then they have to walk upstairs because the elevators are no longer running.
Yeah, well, I notice even walking upstairs is kind of hazardous because some of the steps have almost crumbled away down there.
Well, I think that's to be expected, buddy. You see, the Fremler was closed as a fire trap back in 1974. So the owners don't have much incentive to keep it in good repair now that it's abandoned, say.
Even though the picturesque Skyline Room is still open, huh?
Well, I don't think the owners of the building know it's still open, buddy. We don't advertise the place. So the only patronage we get is through word of mouth.
Sure.
Like today, as you mentioned, we have 5 customers, and I imagine they're all hobos who sleep on the abandoned floors down below.
Uh-huh.
See, they hear music coming from up here and just stop by to see what's going on.
Well, isn't it a little hard for you and your all-male orchestra to make ends meet with that type of clientele, Lloyd?
Well, we're certainly not getting rich, buddy, but... Of course, whatever we take in here at the picturesque Skyline Room is all profit. We don't have to pay rent or buy a cabaret license because nobody knows we're here.
Sure.
So I just split the receipts with the guys in my all-male orchestra, and we do okay.
Right. Under those circumstances, I can see how you might. Incidentally, a question popped into mind as you were speaking then. Could you tell our listeners why your group is billed as Lloyd Fletch and his all-male orchestra?
Well, primarily it's because we don't have any women in it, buddy. But originally, we had a better reason than that.
Well, it sounds like a pretty good reason to me. What could have been the reason?
Well, years ago, the group was just called Lloyd Fletch and his orchestra.
Mm-hmm.
But that was in the era when all the big bands were out on the road. And we kept getting booked into the same towns as Phil Spitalny and his all-girl orchestra. So we started calling ourselves the all-male orchestra to let people know they had a choice.
I suppose that helped your business, huh?
No, it pretty well ruined us, buddy. See, when people have a choice of seeing an all-girl orchestra or an all-male orchestra, they'll take the girls 9 times out of 10. So that's how we wound up in the picturesque Skyline Room of the historic old Fremler Hotel. We couldn't get booking anyplace else.
Well, that's the very type of sex discrimination we're all fighting against these days, Lloyd. And while we think about the injustice that's been done to you and your group, I wonder if you do me a real personal favor and give us one of those patented Lloyd Fletch renditions.
Sure thing, buddy. Now, this is a catchy tune that a lot of the bums and winos who hang around the Skyline Room ask us to play quite often. It's called Melancholy Baby.
Well, that's a terrific selection, Lloyd. And here it is, ladies and gentlemen, Melancholy Baby in the patented style of Lloyd Fletch and his all-male orchestra. Well, I see that our time is about up, and the picturesque Skyline Room of the historic old Fremler Hotel overlooking downtown Evansville, Indiana. This is Buddy Blodgett bidding you a bit of a fond farewell, returning you to our New York studio. And hey there, boys and girls. It's time for the Charlie Chipmunk Club to come to water, and here to read another exciting Charlie Chipmunk story is your old friend, Uncle Edgar.
Well, thank you, Bob, and hello, boys and girls. For today's story, I want you all to turn to page 22 of this month's issue of the Charlie Chipmunk Club magazine. And there at the top...
I certainly hope you boys and girls haven't forgotten to send in your subscription order for the Charlie Chipmunk Club magazine. 12 big issues delivered to your home for only $18.95. Uncle Edgar?
Thank you. Now, there in the first panel, kids, we see that it's lunchtime at the tiny school for the little forest creatures. And Charlie Chipmunk is telling all his friends about the trip he's going to make to visit his grandmother Chipmunk in the city.
And be sure to notice, boys and girls, that all the little creatures have brought their lunches to school in genuine Charlie Chipmunk lunch boxes. They're made of handsome thin-gauge steel, and each comes with its own Charlie Chipmunk thermos bottle. Only $16.98 at better drug and variety stores. Now back to Uncle Edgar.
Okay, well, now in the next panel, we see that Charlie Chipmunk is at home packing his suitcase for that trip to Grandmother Chipmunk's.
And, of course, that's an official Charlie Chipmunk suitcase, gang. Strong vinyl two-suiter in authentic chipmunk brown with black stripes, and the price a remarkably low $69.50. Okay, Uncle Edgar.
Look, Bob, I kind of wish you'd stop horning in this way, you know. We're never going to get the story finished unless you clam up.
Well, it's all those wonderful commercial sponsors that keep us on the air, Uncle Edgar, and I think you and the boys and girls should bear that in mind.
Okay. All right, well, now we're up to the third panel, kids, and we can see that it's raining hard as Charlie Chipmunk sets out on his journey. See those big puddles? And Charlie with his raincoat and umbrella?
It's authentic Charlie Chipmunk foul weather gear, gang. A heavy-duty slicker, umbrella, and galoshes, all with the official Charlie Chipmunk emblem, and all for $72.50. Tell Mommy to get yours today.
Hey, look, I'm not going to hold still for this now. We're only supposed to have a commercial at the beginning and at the end. Now, I don't think federal regulations even allow as much advertising as you're throwing in here, really.
Well, I like to call this public service announcements rather than commercials, Uncle Edgar. If you just stop calling attention to them, everything will be fine.
But I'm only up to the fourth panel in the story.
Well, don't complain so much. I'm surprised you've gotten that far. Go ahead.
Okay, I'll try. Well, now, boys and girls, we can see Charlie Chipmunk holding his little suitcase as he waits on the corner for the bus to come and take him to Grandmother Chipmunk's.
And, of course, we all know what kind of bus he's waiting for, gang. It's a genuine Charlie Chipmunk double-decker. Plenty of room inside for you and 71 of your little friends. Diesel-powered and air-conditioned, yet it costs a surprisingly low $52,500. And best of all, your local Charlie Chipmunk dealer will arrange easy payment terms to fit your daddy's pocketbook.
And hurrying right along here, boys and girls, we now see Charlie Chipmunk arriving in the big city. And there's Grandmother Chipmunk.
Well, I'm sorry, Uncle Edgar, but it looks as if our time is about up for today.
You know, I knew this would happen. I've never finished a story on this show yet, and I want you to know that somebody in authority is going to hear about it.
Join us for lots more fun at the next meeting of the Charlie Chipmunk Club, boys and girls.
First, I plan to tell the station manager all about you, and if he won't do anything, then I'm going straight to the Federal Communications Commission.
Say goodbye to the boys and girls, Uncle Edgar.
Goodbye.
And that puts the lid on things for this get-together today, the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show.
Produced for the Radio Foundation by Larry Josephson, who often wears a sweater, but has never been mistaken for Dan Rather.
In the Department of Associate Producers, ours is Marjorie Van Halderen, who believes no one is writing new fortunes for fortune cookies anymore. Technical director is Malcolm Addy.
And Paul Taubman, a man who can name all of the 7 dwarfs, except one. He provided the music.
Sound effects expert, as usual, is Al Schaefer. Engineering by Joe Lopes and Mike Getlin. Production assistants Diana Freed and Stuart Zagnett.
Funding for the Bob and Ray Public Radio Show is by the National Endowment for the Arts and the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Through NPR's Satellite Program Development Fund.
Well, now, this is Ray Goulding reminding you to write if you get work.
Bob Elliott reminding you to hang by your thumbs.
For a free picture of Bob and Ray, send a stamped, self-addressed envelope to Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116. That's Bob and Ray Picture, Box 5000, GPO, New York 10116.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
This program was independently produced by the Radio Foundation.